Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. I am here with my co-host, Kim Hess. How are ya?
I'm good. I always say
Good.
I'm good. I'm great. I'm great.
I'm awesome because we're doing the will chakra today. So we're supposed to be awesome.
Oh my gosh, let's do this. I can feel it
Yeah,
right there, right under
that's
my
right. All right, we're back. We're doing a series of the chakra system, and we're doing one at a time because I think a lot of people say that they know the chakras, which is great and awesome, even if they do, right? I mean, I think we should learn these in third grade. Take what resonates.
Yeah.
Toss though it doesn't. But I think that a lot of the chakras and the levels of the consciousness of them are something that we can always have a great reminder of. And I think it's really cool that we're kind of going one at a time and interspersing them with other things. So, right?
Oh, this is so beneficial. Every time we get done with, the last couple that we did, I'm like, wow, I totally forgot about that kind of rock or doing this or,
Yep.
how to manage it and how to balance better. And yeah, this is great. I love it.
And these are things that are just highly suggestions. I mean, I don't follow all the so-called rules or parameters of them, but we have to remember that the chakra system builds upon itself. And when we started with the root chakra, that's the element of earth itself. And it's the solid individual foundational chakra. And then we moved up into the sacral, which was just last week or so. And this is when we are talking about more moving into relationship and or duality, and this the water element. So first was very male, very individualized. Now it's like, oh, there's other people. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. So then when we put those together, we find a uniqueness in that we're taking that earth and that water. And this is when we are moving into matter and movement, and we literally are going into transformation, which is fire. One of my favorite elements. I love
Your
air the
element,
most.
baby.
I
Oof.
know, I know. And so this is the purpose of this chakra is all about transformation. We had a lot of change in the second chakra. The first chakra was solid. Second chakra is change. This is literal transformation, which is different than change. And so we hold that chakra in obviously our solar plexus. It's called the solar plexus chakra. And so the solar plexus is literally right where our ribs come together, right underneath that. So that high gut area.
I can't see you. You gotta show us.
I get to stand up and show you my solar plexus. So funny enough, you made me do that because I was literally just going to say you can assess the health of somebody's chakra depending on how big or how small or how fat or how skinny that is. Was that contrived? So it is, no, it's not even a joke because, like tight, hard stomachs and large pot bellies are showing that this is off. So we always think, oh, yeah, super tight, hard stomach, that six pack, tight, 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 and concaved is not a healthy solar plexus. It's supposed to have breath and movement, right? But also the really, really big fat pot belly is not a good thing either, because this is about a need to dominate and a need to control. And because the power center is out of control. It's really interesting.
What about a jelly belly? Like, like my belly. What does that mean?
Well, excess weight says that the body is not properly metabolizing.
Yeah, I know that.
Or it's like when you and I get together, we just eat and drink too much. And so, it is about, also, I would like to point out though, the weakened one is the sunken in. There are those people, and I've seen them before also, and have some clients or I've seen some of my kids' friends when they're, doing the skateboarding thing and they rip off their shirts and they're sunken in that area too. Sometimes that is really a fear-based chakra here. I'm withdrawing. I'm not getting along with others, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these can relate to the first two chakras, obviously about beliefs and relationships and all of that stuff. But it's really interesting because depending on how the body aligns itself, it shows that our chakras are in good shape or not good shape, not to mention the organs inside, right? Because we always think, oh, these are the organs of, the spleen and the diaphragm and but it's also on our outside. So we show how healthy we are or aren't, diseased or not, in terms of the outer body as well per chakra. I just think that's kind of interesting, but this one specifically, right?
Yeah, no, it's really, you definitely can see it when you were talking about the protruding hard pot belly.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, our
those people.
neighbor, the man looked like we were children, and we always would say, "Is that man pregnant?" Because I mean, his belly was like one of those really big, hard bellies. And he was a massive, corporate executive and believed in all that patriarchal stuff and was a control and dominance dude. And I thought that was so funny because I remembered that when we were reviewing this stuff today. I'm like, oh, I remember that big belly on that guy. So that's a control mechanism.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So it'll be interesting. I forgot about how the outer body shows these signs.
Yeah.
And so now to be with people and look around and watch will be interesting.
And really, let's go back to the root one just for a second. I mean, I'm even doing stretches this morning, and I do them all the time for my hip flexors because I'm always like stuck there, and you'll see as people age that they can't walk. And, it's mobility and motion is really super important to keep those chakras open. And as we age, we get that's why people break their hip and then they're down for the count and then they get scared. And so all of those, everything we're talking about as far as the consciousnesses go, I don't even know if that's a plural. It's important for us to understand that it shows in the body, inside and outside. So it's kind of, and try not to obviously judge anybody because we don't know what's going on, but you can certainly look at yourselves, right? So, okay. So in terms of this, there's some really fun things that you can do with this chakra to see if it is in alignment. It's about, are you frequently cold? Do you have enough fire inside of your body is basically what this is about. So if you're under spinning, as under activated, maybe you're freezing cold. If you're over activated, maybe you're constantly hot. Okay. So these are kinds of fun things. Do you prefer cold or hot drinks? Do you sweat easily? Do you have the chills? Do you have fevers? Is your temperament really quick to anger and fire? So these are indicators of excessive and or inefficient movement in this chakra. It's kind of fun to think about.
So you kind of mix those up though. Like, so if you're like when your chakra is like too open, that more on the angry end and the
yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me back up. I'll do it this way.
Okay.
Overactive, meaning too open, okay, is desiring control, judgment, overly critical, excessively stubborn. I'm always angry. I'm aggressive. So that's too much fire.
Okay.
So I mixed them all together. So sorry. So yeah, that's too much fire. So now I am constantly overheating. I'm too hot. I'm too everything. On the flip side, underactive, meaning my spin factor in my chakra is not active enough. So now I lack everything. I lack confidence. I lack my purpose. I feel hopeless and helpless. My will is gone. All of those things. I have low self-esteem. So this is the power center. So now if I'm low on it, I'm probably freezing cold because I don't have enough fire.
Right.
So what's cool about these things is you can eat differently too. If I don't have enough fire, you can zip up your actual diet.
Little cayenne, little pepper, little, just
little something.
Yeah, it does help the metabolism change, actually. That's a big deal.
Right. And conversely, if you're constantly eating hot food and you can't tolerate cold food, like, oh, I can't do that ice cream or that popsicle, there's that flip side too. So just kind of look at that. I mean, this isn't a absolute, it's just one of those parameters that I think is kind of
So
fun.
if I'm balanced, I could eat a spicy taco and then have ice cream right after and I'm good to go.
Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Or a spicy taco with a really cold margarita.
Sold.
That sounds really good actually right now.
It does.
So I always go through the influences and the imbalances. So I'm just going to read them off a screen over here because there's a lot. So this influences our digestion, our expansiveness, our growth, our self-confidence, our ego power, our self-control, and our humor. That's what this chakra influences. So when we have negative characteristics, it can affect things like stomach ailments, ulcers, liver, spleen, gallbladder problems, digestive problems, obesity, and or the flip side, anorexia, heartburn, stomach aches, back pain, nervous disorders, self-esteem issues, fear of rejection. These are the emotional ones now. Oversensitivity to criticism, self-image, fears, nervousness, and poor memory. So this is a very, very egoic chakra. And that is not what it was originally designed for. This was originally designed for us to understand that I am a co-creator with my higher self. I am a co-creator in my reality, creating my blueprints, creating everything, seeing how I, interject myself into life and experience in the God source with me. Now, we don't really ever get taught that because we're taught God is outside of us, right? On a cloud with a book in a dress. And so I can't not say that. And so, again, take what resonates. When we start to understand this chakra balanced, that's the co-creation, but we're not taught that. So we're taught imbalanced power, meaning I have to control, hence why I have an ego. I have to command and be in charge of everything. And or the flip side of that is, oh, I'm the victim and I have no control. So we have tweaked this chakra like completely out of whack, not to mention, which has opened the complete garage door to all of the monsters of programming.
Oh my gosh, it's so big. This one is really, when you look at the foundation of the root chakra is so important, for connection, that kind of thing. But this is your whole bringing other people into your life and how you handle that. So either you're making your blueprint to be meshing in and being part of the whole of humanity, or you're on your own road taking names, and making things really tough for yourself and other people.
It's a really hard thing because as a culture and a planet and a species, by the way, we hadn't talked about this before. We've gone through the chakra system, meaning way back in the Neanderthal dinosaur days was literally fight or flight, and all I had to do survive. And all that era of time on our planet was the root chakra. All the next era of migrating and finding towns and becoming, cities and people together and doing farming, all of that was the sacral chakra. Then we moved into the thing that we're just getting out of in the ascension age, which was that iron age, that whole age of battle, that whole age of I'm in control and patriarchy, top-down management. All the crap that we have created with that solar plexus chakra, we're just getting out of, so that we're moving into the heart chakra as a species, planet, and all of the above. So we are moving through this chakra, but because it was such a long period, this is when we created all of the control mechanisms, not to mention the dark agenda, right? So this is
that's when you're talking about programming. Maybe touch on that a little bit more, the types of programming. I think we did a little bit in one of the others, but
and programming can come from day one in terms of we can be programmed in utero by listening to our parents. Just remember that as well. So it's very important for us to know social programming, family programming, belief systems that we're told, but then we move into the bigger things like the government programming. We're going to tell you when you're safe or not. I mean, we're all experiencing that, and we're going to have more. It's really understanding that this is all basically a lot of times an illusion in terms of keeping us in fear, so that they can manage us, so that they can sell us things or not sell us things, so that we move money differently, which then of course is our control system of money and financial and management of all of that. And we have medicine programs, and we have politics programs. We have everything's programmed. We're living in the biggest illusion of all, and this actual chakra is it. I mean, this is the illusion chakra.
So as we're motoring through, you're looking at things starting to dismantle and become more obvious that, especially politics. I mean, I'm not wanting to talk about politics, but you're starting to see a lot of disclosure. And so as we're in our human body, maybe touch on how you see this, you acknowledge it, and now you have to figure out how to stay neutral.
Well, remember, this is we're coming out of the change chakra, which was the second one. This is the transformation chakra. So transformation is, yes, in some cases right now we're seeing actual disclosure. We're seeing the change has caused a transformation in what we see and experience, which is now moving into that third chakra. So we are becoming aware of a larger pattern. We are becoming aware of larger points of view. We are going from that teeny tiny to the expansiveness of transformation. That's what this is. It's the explosion. But this explosion comes from inside of us first. It's happening out here because the change is happening from 2, right? Chakra 2. But chakra 3 is also transforming out here, but you will not necessarily see and be aware of and engage with that change unless you're transforming inside of yourself, right? So this is about, oh, I am not falling for that bull crap anymore that I have to be controlled. I am actually going to find my empowerment and my will inside here, and I'm going to believe in my freedom and my sovereignty. This is what's happening massively right now.
Yeah, that thank you for going into that a little deeper, because it makes so much sense. And the point that you should be growing with the changes and transforming with the changes is really important.
And if you're not transforming within yourself, you're going to stay in that second chakra and fight it. You'll fight the change, which then relates back to the first chakra. I mean, it's so fascinating to me that we just go through these all the time, because they're belief pockets, right? They're, again, I say sandboxes. We're in different sandboxes. It's all the same sand, but it's all done differently. When we're fighting change, we're going to go back to that. No, I believe this and I'm right and you're wrong. And so we, instead of transforming eventually, which will be the next chakra of more oneness, right? More openness, more altogether-ness, we're going to fight that change. And I'm going to see dualism. I see you're a Democrat. I see you're a Republican. I see you're gay. I see you're straight. All these silly, ridiculous polarities and dualistic things that we do when we're scared because we can't transform. We will go down the chakra system again, and we'll end up being individualized and not giving a crap about anybody. And that's when it just goes, now I'm not safe. Isolation, So it's just, this is a really, really powerful place in our system here.
Oh my gosh, it's huge.
Right? And the cool part about the chakra system, and I'm glad we're talking about it, is it relates directly to creational reality.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just bodies walking around with these little spin things inside of us that are like taking some fuel. This is a pattern within a pattern. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm that's happening here. So when we're understanding chakra 3 is a dynamic point of balance, meaning change, duality isn't balanced yet. We take it into the third chakra and we transform it into what we want. Now we can become balanced. Does that make some sense?
Well, I understand what you're saying to a point, but maybe go a little farther into that one, because when you're talking about balance, maybe make that clear with that.
Well, it's not quite that. I should keep going, but it's balance first, and so then it's moving forward. So again, Earth was really all about passivity, me, individualized. Water was taking it to the flow and having more people and taking more accountability, but still very dualistic and in change. Fire is taking the consciousness then to a deliberate action. It's making the change. It's doing the transformation. 2 offers me change, dualism, choices, but 3 takes it and does it and runs with it. So this is about, we're now in power and will. This is the power center. This is the will center. And so this is very important for us to understand. Power can be completely misdirected or internalized in all kinds of ways, right? I mean, we've been living in chakra 3 with top-down power, like we just said, those control mechanisms. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to think. This is what you're going to eat. You can't have this. You need to take this, So this is not the alignment of the true higher power. This is alignment of control mechanism power. So that's kind of smashing 2 and 3 chakras together, right?
Yep.
So we need to see power that strengthens individuals and cultures simultaneously rather than one at the expense of the other, because our power structure that we've been in for eons, think of war. I want your land. I'm going to take all your stuff. I'm going to give you these weapons. I'm going to control you by keeping your oil. I mean, all this crap that we've been playing for eons is a messed up third chakra in the big picture of the macro.
Right.
Okay.
So when you're talking about consciousness of one, as I am working on myself, Kim, as an individual, but also co-creating my blueprint to be part of the all, my contribution in what I'm doing is bringing light and bringing, whatever my gifts are, whatever, to that consciousness of one, which starts to change the trend or the power structure, right?
And it's really, I think, an easy way to think of it like this. You're here to do your individual soul contract, your own Akashic record, right? We know that. But now we're moving into that oneness understanding that because I'm Kim and I'm deciding this, that, or the other thing, or not deciding this, that, or the other thing, it affects the collective.
It does. Yeah.
It affects the collective consciousness. So this moves into combination and interaction, meaning word chakra was just one. Second chakra was 1 and 2. Now it's a combination and interaction. So we're moving into that understanding that, oh crap, I'm not just responsible for all my stuff. I'm responsible for all of this stuff, right? And this is when it starts to go, that's why we got shut down in the negative agenda, because we can be very powerful.
Very powerful. I mean,
especially as a collective, right?
Yeah. And I think they thought it would slow all that down, but I think it made it stronger, didn't it? Like,
well, not for eons, though. It really didn't.
No, not for eons,
Kim, because think of the control mechanism broke us into separation, and it created separation of source. Again, God on a cloud is separate than me. I'm scared of a guy on a cloud with my name on a list or not, if I was in trouble or not. All of that was deliberate separation from source. So this is more about cooperation, moving into that oneness. So power as control or power over is two different things.
Yes.
Right. And so we can have control or command of ourselves, but power over somebody or something is completely different. So we can even have, think of our own bodies. We're in control of our body, or are we? Because our head is in control, and so we can take this to the micro now and even go, I can be mind controlled even in my own body with my belief systems from my parents. And I can think all kinds of things about myself, and it can distort those 1 and 2 chakras. Right. So because we're seen as separate, I was thinking a lot about this chakra when I was going through the materials again, because in the last year, not everybody on YouTube knows that I had some very big medical journeys for the last year and a half. And I don't do Western medicine normally. And it was a thing where I was almost, I'm not going to say forced, because nobody forces anything, but I chose to go, and I felt very uncomfortable in these Western medical situations because of the fact of separateness. I had to go to this doctor for this body part.
Yeah.
And this doctor for that body part. And no one looked at me from a place of functioning as a whole.
Yeah.
It made me so upset.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, because every little piece of your body works together to make you a whole. So
but we don't look at life like that. Even science looks at everything's like little tiny particles, and everything's separate. We look at our body parts. You're the brain doctor. You're the lung doctor. You're the ears, nose, and throat doctor. I mean, good God, the amount of, I had 7 different specialists that were working, and not one of them ever considered that maybe those things were connected. I mean, we look at everything separate. We look at, oh, you're in a different state than me. You're in a different time zone than me. You're on the other side of the so-called globe. Every single thing we do, we separate. And so separateness creates fear. And this has been the instituted programming since day one, because if they can keep us separate, it's like that little ant can move a breadcrumb, but man, if you get the colony, it's going to move the loaf, right?
Yeah. They're working really hard to keep us separated. Definitely.
Yeah.
As a human race. So
and the best way to do that is keep us in fear and worry. And this is going to be ramping up. And I'm glad we're doing this one now, because it is going to be a purposeful ramp up in our whole Western medicine crap that we went through in 2020 is going to be brought back again. They're already putting in the little building blocks, and they're putting in instigating fear already. And then we add that, by the way, on top of 9/11, that was already showing all of us all the ridiculous tapes and footage from, so long ago, to just remind you that that government has got you because we're going to keep you safe. And the reality is none of that is true. And it instigates fear 24/7 so that people will follow the rules, that we're pounded into submissiveness. I can't, I should, I need to, I won't. All of these things are constantly having power over us instead of empowering us. It's so not balanced.
and as a person, there's so many times where I'm deciding, is this mine or not mine? But boy, this does not feel good.
No.
Whatever that is. And trying to really keep myself in a place of comfort in my own body. But it's hard. It's out there all the time. It's just like,
And the reason why we will have the controllers do things like pandemics and or medical things especially is because we're all scared to die. I mean, that's the bottom line, scared of the human. And so when they separate, it's a feeling of estrangement. Estrangement then goes into, oh, I'm alone. And then it goes into, oh, I'm isolated. And instead, I want to maybe take that alone time. This is what the actual lockdowns were about. We could find our dark side and our shadow during that and really work through our program beliefs for will and sovereignty and freedom. Or we could go into, this world is ruled by strangers. I don't even know who it is. It's machines, it's frequencies, it's everything. And I've got nothing. And I'm just a pawn. And a lot of people went that way because it was easy. We are so easy to control. Our minds are what are controlled. And again, this is why it's very important for us to go back to the sacral chakra, activate the feel centers, and know our true emotions so that our mind is not running overtime. This is the mental field. And so I'm sorry, I didn't say that at the beginning. Our first one is the physical field. Chakra 2 is our emotional field. This is our mental field. So when it comes to our auric template, we are housing the monkey mind, right?
Yep.
And that is completely controllable.
Right, it is, because you mean you have to really pay attention to what is running through there.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to stop and try to restate what you want it to be for it to change. And that takes a lot of time and work. It's not easy.
I just had a client the other day that was really having a hard time with a new boss that felt really overpowering and really over controlling. And this is that whole thing about, now I have to make money, or am I going to get fired, or I won't have a job, or now I'm not going to have insurance. These are all of the ones that come through this, but they're really registering in the root chakra. So we want to be aware that these work in unison, because if I'm really scared, I'm going to go after that promotion. I'm going to get that bigger job. I'm going to get that bigger paycheck. And at the very same time, it's like, oh crap, now I might even lose more. Right. So I'm more scared the higher I go sometimes. I think I'm more powerful. I think I'm more in charge and controlling the whole entire world. But the reality is my fear chakra is out of control at the same time, because I have more to lose in terms of that root chakra safe feel. So this is very difficult for us because most of us don't go inside and be comfortable with that aloneness and be comfortable with the fact that I can get fired tomorrow and I will figure it out because I am safe in here.
Relate to that whole everything you just said. And it took a lot of work to really get through all of it. It's amazing how wrapped up you get in your egoic control part of this whole chakra, working with the other chakras, because it's based on beliefs and insecurities and fear, and all those things are all mixed in. So,
do you have a memory of the day when it clicked in your head that you were safe?
I think it was, I think where I really felt safe was when I went to Peru.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. Because I had that whole connection to Mother Earth,
land.
And it was just so profound, and it was a whole different perspective of humanity for me.
Yep.
Especially meeting the people in Peru. It just really changed my several beliefs. Absolutely. And I was able to start to work in a different perspective or outlook in all of it. Where I was scooting along, having fun, thinking everything was great, and underlying it wasn't. And that was where the basis of all of it started to really take shape.
And your first Peru trip, you still were working corporate, right?
I went back to corporate after that.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah.
And I needed to, because it made me, it actually showed in my confidence and how I was doing things, that it really wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't, even though I felt better about myself and was in a better place and all of the things, it did not match my heart or my, truth of what
it's almost like it confirmed the illusion.
It did. Totally.
Yeah.
It did confirm everything. And
isn't that crazy?
It's very easy to walk away at that point.
Yeah. I remember mine. I was standing, it was when everything was shit hit the fan, like everything was happening and we were losing everything. And I remember standing in my own healing room above the garage at that point, and I was screaming to the universes, you've taken this, you've taken that, you've taken this. And I said, and you will not take my home of my children and my family. And then I sat there going, who am I screaming at? Because like, I'm just screaming at a ceiling. This is ridiculous. And it was me that made the choice to not go back to corporate. Well, who am I yelling at, right?
Right.
And that was the day I decided, oh, you know what? Even if my house was gone, I'm still safe. And it was a really light bulb moment. So I hope people that are struggling with this do the work to find their light bulb moments, because they can happen. And we have to allow ourselves to have the mental, emotional, physical, especially emotional, mental breakdown to be really scared and freaking out, to be able to get to the guttural feeling of, I'm not freaking safe. And then you go, yeah, I am. And this is when our power comes back. So these chakras all work together. These 3 chakras, 1, 2, and 3, comprise what is known as the physical plane. And we are physical human beings. The next 3 after the heart will be our spiritual ones, and they will merge eventually, but these are very important. And what is happening right now in the ascension process, and I'm not going to go deep into this, but they're compressing, they're actually becoming one. 1, 2, and 3 are actually becoming one, so that we're actually going to be rooted in our heart chakra. So they're merging. And this is in the big hologram, right? Dimensions 1, 2, and 3 are merging. Earth, wind, water, fire, plant and animal kingdom, humanity are merging as one, because we're becoming part of the planet, part of the animals, part of the plants again. We're awakening to that oneness. In our bodies, we'll be doing the same thing, but this is even harder being a human version, because I'm merging my belief systems with my relationships, my feelings, and my power. So this is difficult, and this is why we're seeing people go bonkers right now.
Yeah, and I just want to say, once you have that light bulb moment, it doesn't mean that this isn't going to keep creeping up, with
No, it doesn't mean that.
over and over. It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was over that. And then something will happen and you kind of lose your mind over something. And when you sit back and look at it, it's like, oh, I wasn't safe, or whatever that poverty consciousness is. And what it's like, oh, yeah, I get it.
Oh,
Okay, let's work on that. And
that sucker's still working. Yeah. Yeah. It's the onion layers just make me laugh so hard. It's just never onions. And I hate that it's onions, but anyway.
I know.
Will is really what this is. And we talk about will a lot. Will is the combination of mind and action, the conscious direction, the blend of desire. It is the means in which we create our future. It's how we manifest. It's what drives us, the will to live, the will to do all kinds of things. Okay. So this is the second chakra of change, and the circumstances, if I'm a victim or a controller, that's the fuel for the will. So we can choose our will on this path or that path, if you're following. Okay. So this is when we are really taking individualistic charge, even though we're thinking of oneness at the same time. So this is also, in my opinion, when we start to take some responsibility of our Akashic records. For me, this is a very much chakra about, I'm not in charge of this 100% down here. If this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. When I start to open up to the concept of, I'm aligned to my higher will, my divine will. My divine will is getting me out of that job. I didn't get fired. My divine will is leading me out of this relationship that I didn't have the courage to step away from, etc. And I'm not a victim because someone left me. So this is, for me, when this gets really bigger in the chakra system and goes into the Akash and the free will.
Right. And again, it took a long time for me not to think about, it's all outside of me. It's not outside of you. It's your will. It's your will, right?
Oh, outside of you that things are happening?
Like, meaning the universe is doing this to me. Like, it's still the victim kind of behavior where it's like, or like you said, God, it's outside of me. It's not, it's all inner, it's inward. So,
and I love that you're even pointing that out, because even people think the universe and God is doing something to me, even much as my boss and my neighbor's doing something to me. I mean, it's like, no. So, and I think it's interesting to play around too, if you choose, obviously, is what is will versus free will? What is the difference? I mean, what is will versus free will? And I believe we all have will and drive and desire and passion within us, and I will will myself to do something. But when I'm really understanding this is free will, there is absolutely no conditions attached because it's coming in this way, right? So that's even a little bit of a different thing.
And again, you're going to go back and forth
Yep.
between them because it's just too much. I mean, when you're going through the chakras, it just happens.
Well, and remember, our feelings again in that second chakra are so important, because the will see this world through the eyes of the feelings and the beliefs of 1 and 2. So if I feel and have been trained and believe that I'm a victim, that is exactly what you are going to create in this with your will.
Yep.
That is not necessarily your free will, but it is really interesting to me that we have a blank canvas out here, and because of 1 and 2, 3 transforms it in the way that 1 and 2 scripted. So these are really important to work together, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a great word in this chakra too called inertia. And I think that I literally have never used that out of my mouth. Like, it's like, I don't use that on a daily basis. And I remember way back when I was doing these classes and I was studying, I'm like, I think I know what that means, but a tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged, a property of matter by which it continues in its existing state of rest or uniform motion. So I actually looked it up way back when I wrote this years ago, because it's like basically boredom. You don't do anything, right? This is kind of one of those ones that sometimes inertia manifests in things at rest, because the will uses motion to get them moving. But if I'm like so disconnected, I'm not doing my will to move forward. I am not transforming. I'm just stuck, and a lot of people think they're stuck. This is a huge thing that I get when I have a client come in. Why are you here today? Well, I'm just stuck. Are you really stuck?
I've showed up in your office and said, I'm just stuck. I don't know what's happening.
I mean, we talk about that all the time. I feel stuck. I feel stuck. But inertia takes the form of motion, and the will uses the stillness and the solidity to stop or change the direction. So really these work together, and stillness and quiet can be wonderful, or it can be debilitating and going nowhere. So that's I think that's a super interesting little part to this, is that word.
Well, because you need the stillness and the quiet. Like, think about meditating.
Yes.
You need that to get clarity in some of this. And so it's hard to close down the monkey mind, all of that, to get that quiet. But you need that quiet then to actually bring forward the creative and be able to go forward, right?
And again, I love how everything plays together.
Yeah.
It's such a metaphor that everything relates on everything. The particles they work as individuals, but really they don't until they're all together, right? I mean, it's
like your body parts, like you were talking about before. It's all together.
So how does one develop their will? Well, the first step is to realize that you even have it, right? Because most of us right now are feeling like we have no control, we have no power, we have no nothing. That's the negative agenda plan, is to absolutely submit, submissive. You have no control. We're there for you. We're going to do that. I mean, I love that they're promoting these futuristic cities of, you don't even need a car. We're just going to have everything there. We're going to put a chip in you so you don't need money. I mean, it's just a never ending negative agenda of taking away sovereignty and freedom by tweaking the mind to think that you don't have to have any responsibility, but what they're taking is your will. And so knowing that you have will, much less free will, is very important. Looking around and seeing that you take responsibility. This is the responsibility chakra. Take responsibility for all that is around you, knowing you created it. You co-created something so that you can have a reaction to it. Now, do I really create the storm that knocks all the trees out of my neighbor's yard into mine and wrecks everything I own? No, but what I do co-create is the response to it. And what triggers inside of me is still a belief system that isn't settled. So yes, I did co-create it, but did I? No. Yes, it's both. And so these are really hard answers for us. But when I was starting this work years and years and years ago, I've told the story to a couple of our members, in that I went through a 2-week period, and this is not a joke, where I said, I choose, hang on, I'm going to choose to do this. Hang on, I'm going to choose to, hold on, I'm going to choose to take a sip. hold on, I'm going to choose to put this down. And I did that out loud, and I was still corporate at that time.
Your
And
family thought you were nuts.
oh my God, my family hated me so bad. And I'm like, I'm not choosing to feel hated. And I mean, it was like always constant. And it was like going through drive-throughs. I'm like, I'm choosing number 2 and I'm choosing this, and people would just go like this. The reason I did that is I really wanted viscerally, palpably understood in every cell of my body that I choose everything, every second of my day. Yeah. You choose what you wear, you choose what you do, you choose what you think, you choose. And so this is what directly relates to the will center, is to understand feeling powerlessness is because I'm choosing to not see I have free will and utilize that and transform it. I am not recognizing that I am creating this. I am not owning my responsibility and my cause and effect. So this is one of the biggest powerful things about this. But we live in a culture that brings us up to feel powerless and helplessness on purpose, because they want obedience, they want training, they want subservient, they want programming, they want they. So when we fight that, we look like we're the messed up one. Yeah. But this is what's changing right now with transformation and disclosure. We're finding out actually standing up is a great thing, but we're seeing it in really scary ways, like the George Floyds or the riots or the, the shootings or the whatevers and the protests, but still it's a voice. I don't agree with some of the outcomes on how they do it, but at least be courageous to find will turning to true will. This is my true alignment. This is my truth. This is what I stand up for, so it's a lot.
It is, because if you're not following what you truly believe and truly feel in your heart, you're going to have all kinds of issues. Yep. And that's the hardest thing to separate. What do I believe because I was told I believe this, and what do I really believe for myself, being who I am?
And when you get to true will and true owning your truth, you will risk the consequences of your actions. And I've been there. I have so been there. And that has to do with the voice chakra, which we won't do for 2 more times because this is number 5. But oftentimes when people are sick or having esophageal stuff, I'm going to go like this for a second. You have no voice and you have no power, and this will lock down everything in here. So this is acid reflux. This is esophageal. This is, heartburn, which will then affect the heart chakra. And then the heart chakra will take dis-ease. So these two are very connected on most all people, going from the throat and the will center, because I don't have the courage. I don't have the belief that I have the ability to have truth, et cetera, et cetera. So those two are very connected on many, many clients.
I get it. But we'll get to those, because I'm excited for the heart and the throat. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So victims love this chakra, however, because then they don't need to be responsible.
Okay. Everybody else's fault.
Everybody else's fault.
Everybody else is responsible for me.
I didn't do it. Who moved the mustard in the fridge? You must have stuck that somewhere else. That's why I can't find it,
And they're also looking for validation all the time.
Oh my gosh.
They have no confidence in what they're doing.
So really realize, if you live with a victim or one yourself, you're actually the controller, because people think that those are 2 different things, and they're not. That person that is acting like the victim and they give it off to everybody else is actually controlling all the mechanisms of I take no responsibility. So all of that can be really washed away quite easily when we start to get, honest with ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really hard. It's really hard. Yeah. Cosmic will is part of this also, if we go bigger, meaning what is the cosmic will? What is my higher self will? What is and a lot of people will do their spiritual journeying or meditating to find that higher version of themselves, to even find a bigger version of will, divine timing, divine alignment. All of those divine words takes that will even higher to align with my soul and or my essence of what I am. And a lot of people will do, like pulling tarot cards for that, or getting a reading, or doing their spiritual journaling or whatever. And I think, and most people on here, I think, are aware that you write prayer. That is also an interesting thing for me to think of you. You actually step back from your will, in terms of you have your divine will aligned, but you step back your egoic will. Do you know what I'm saying there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it took me a while to get to that place. It's not.
So what does that feel like? Maybe you can share that.
You know, sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's not, but it depends on what it feels like is that I kind of go into a meditative place.
Right.
I'm still aware and conscious of what I'm doing, writing, typing, whatever it is, but it's coming from somewhere else. It's
Right.
like the words, and I'll reread the words and be like, oh,
Oh, that's good.
that's really good.
Who wrote that?
Yeah, that's amazing. I've never said that word before.
Yeah.
Or written about that word. So it's like I'm co-creating
Yeah.
because my mind is in there a little bit, but really it's coming from somewhere else. And then I can talk in my head like, is this the right thing or should we change this? And it's really interesting.
It is interesting. It's like it's like when I channel also differently, but same but different in terms of you can hear yourself in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's
And you ask questions like,
and you're
oh,
answering them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then you're like,
I
wow,
know.
that's a cool answer.
Wait, I just answered myself. Wait, how does this work?
How do you know that? Yeah. Isn't that fun? I
It
think
is.
that's fun.
It is because I use it so much in my life and don't even realize it. And sometimes
Mhm.
I even talk out loud as I'm doing something and I know I'm getting the answer,
Right.
whatever it is. So
So that's the higher will. That's the cosmic divine will. That's the higher self will. So, I mean, we have will, and then we have, free will, and then we have like cosmic higher self will. So there's all kinds of levels of this. And I think it's interesting. They're basically all the same thing, obviously, but I think that they do spin out differently in this.
well, I think they play together like your chakras play together. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like you traverse between them.
Good.
Whatever you're doing, it feels like. So
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Probably the 3 levels of will sign up with the 3 chakras.
hey, we should do a podcast on that. 3 levels of love.
I think we are. Okay. So a person that has true power does not need to dominate. So if you are the person that is in a relationship or in a friendship or in a household or at a job with a boss or whatever, if you're in a dominant relationship, meaning that you feel dominated, that you feel overpowered, that you feel gaslighted, that you feel controlled, all of that stuff. When we know our true will, we get super, super strong with our will. We don't need to dominate anybody. This is actually when we step back and we don't have any anxiety about so many things because we don't need to control. We realize we never have in the first place. Right?
Yeah. And honestly, through corporate, because of the whole patriarchal, like the way things come down through a corporation, you thought you had to control and dominate others to do what you needed to do. Absolutely.
And it's so funny because there are these little snippets of validation, like, oh man, I'm such a great person. I'm such a great boss. I made he or she do this. And the reality is you didn't. That person chose to do it. And so it's all false. It's really, really crazy. So when we talk about this particular chakra, there's a breakdown of breaking powerlessness. That's a big word, powerlessness. Okay. The way that you break your powerlessness, because this is the one where I can just be like, I'm so depleted. I have nothing. I'm so victim. I just, I can't. I just got nothing. This is that depression. This is like, I can't move forward. The ways to do that is to break, first of all, your inertia, like we talked about. Do something different, right? Break it up. Do something drastically to change that isn't going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form, just to absolutely mix up that energy completely. Yeah. Take care of yourself first. If you don't, no one else is going to take care of you. Avoid invalidation, meaning I'm not going to look for validation and criticism and judgment outside of self. I'm going to worry about what my insides feel like. Wiring and resistors. So meaning what I put out comes back to me. This is the way that the energy works. It's a wiring of sorts. I have circuitry between us. Okay. And break any attachments that aren't helping you. If somebody's pissing you off or dominating and controlling, walk away, let it go if you have that capability. And then attention, giving it to yourself first and then to others, and really having interactions. Grounding and staying present is one of the most purposeful things to do for powerlessness, because we don't have that magnetic control of being safe. That safe is out here, and it's not. It needs to be in the body, in the mind, in the planet. Anger is a huge one on powerlessness. Release it safely and effectively. Let's think about when, oh no, now you all got to put masks on. Now you can't go here. Now you can't talk to anybody. And now you're back to 6 feet. That people are so angry already. And so this is because they feel powerless. And the actuality is you're not. This is why we want to increase our information. We don't want to be puppets in the world. We want to have that opportunity to do my own research, find my own due diligence, give that information to myself and share it with others if you choose, without conditions attached. This is a very conditionalized chakra. Laughter and love is a huge part of getting rid of powerlessness. It's finding that I can laugh over something as ridiculous as you're telling me to do what? wait a minute. Because like, how many feet made a difference yesterday? And now it's how many feet? You know, those silly things. You're just like,
do
what?
this and then have my snack.
Yeah, I mean, all of it is so silly. So effort and resistance is part of the thing. You know, it's the ebb and flow. This doesn't work. This does work, et cetera, et cetera. So these are all things that we can kind of giggle and laugh about when you really get down to it, because a lot of this chakra can be pretty good humor, in my opinion.
Ooh, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to a couple details. Some of the things that we can do, obviously, about this chakra are eating differently. Okay, we know that. I did the underactive and overactive. Some of the things that we really want to watch are those control issues, judgment issues. That means that you're really not doing well in this chakra if you're judging the entire world, right? Okay, right. That was a big one for me. I was really, really aware of how much I was judging constantly all the time. And a really great place that I do that work is standing in line at Walmart. Seems to be where I do a lot of my work, because I can get so overstimulated and overdone there. And I can find myself being judgmental. Like, why aren't you going faster? Why is your kid crying? What is wrong with you? Why are you buying that crap in your, you know, in your cart?
In your cart, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can find myself really doing some really great work in Walmart for Will and in that area. So we do have in the Confident Empath book, the lists and lists per chakra. And some of the things that we can talk about are the rocks. And I love, when I'm in this particular chakra, I love citrine. It's one of my favorite rocks. I have a giant one that I work with all the time. Topaz is good. I love tiger's eye for this particular chakra. This is one of my favorites.
I've got some on today, tiger's eye.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, you did. Hey, yeah. Oh, we aren't color coordinated today. The yellow is the color here. And malachite is actually, yellow calcite is beautiful. Those are all really great rocks for it. Some of the I think oils that go for this from the book are saying things like pine, eucalyptus, juniper berry, grapefruit, lemon. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to activate this. I also think peppermint is a great one for this one. Affirmations are really all about my ego is balanced. I'm free to choose. I choose this, I choose that. So those things are all really super good in terms of really activating this chakra. And then last time you asked me, what are the poses, Suzanne? So now you can ask me because I'm ready.
Suzanne, what are the yoga poses you can do with this? The poses, what are they?
Actually, it's about kind of similar to the sacral one that I wasn't prepared for last time, but this is about the bow pose. Is that one where you lay? I don't even know if I could do this at this age, where you lay on your tummy and you grab your feet from the backside, so you're kind of bowing the back. What you're doing is you're stretching out the solar plexus. So anything that is going to stretch out the solar plexus. I think that you can also do the one where you're just laying on the ground and then you raise the front of your body so that you're stretching this out as well. That's super good. Doing it where you're pulling upward too. You can do that. So you're pressing the body this way. You can flip the body around and do it this way as well. So what you're doing is stretching out the actual middle of the body as much as you possibly can. If you are really strong, you can start to do those balances too, where just your butt is on the ground and you're releasing your feet and your hands so that you're really pulling that gut. You're working that really core. So anything Pilates, for example, core exercises, really getting kettlebells do a lot of that core stuff there too. The sit-ups and things like that, anything to get that whole core to strengthen is really part of this chakra. So anytime we're doing a pose, whether it's a workout pose or a yoga pose, it has to do with the portion of the body where the actual fuel is coming in. And we want to keep that open and moving. That's part of the process of those.
Yeah. And I think there was some too that when you're standing, some stand up poses that are balancing yourself, like
Oh my
your
gosh, right?
feet by each other, like doing kind of ballet, but also, the one I was thinking about was when you were talking about doing the bow and arrow one, where you're balanced your feet and you're
Yeah.
pulling the core. That's like
Yeah.
all through that area.
Yep. Yep. And I
So,
think a lot of core exercises will go up into the heart chakra exercises as well, because you're pulling that balance right there. But yeah, I think it's really, and yellow is so fun for me. I was not kind of a yellow person a whole lot. However, I love sunflowers. And have been putting more and more yellow into my home and into my yard and into different things. I've been buying yellow flowers like crazy, and I was not even noticing that I was doing it. And after the fact, I was kind of looking around going, wow, I all of a sudden have so much yellow. So I think that's interesting too, because your tastes will change in terms of what you like and don't like for decor and or clothing or anything when you're working on different chakras. And I think that's super fun.
oh yeah, definitely. It's so funny. I thought last night I should wear something yellow. I don't have much that's yellow though. For clothing for some reason, but my bedroom's yellow. My
Yeah.
bedroom's yellow.
Well, there you go.
Have yellow. Yeah.
I went out and got RIT. Remember RIT dye? RIT.
Yeah.
Remember RIT dye? I love that stuff, and you can't find it very much in like a Walmart or a Cub or whatever. But I went to the Joanne Fabrics, and they have every color under the sun. And I bought this big bright yellow one just yesterday, just for giggles. I don't know what I'm going to make yellow, but I don't have much for yellow clothing either.
No.
So yeah, it's a hard color, but it was funny that that's the one I wanted on the shelf. Yeah, weird, huh? So
Right.
kind of fun, and that will change your actual field when we align the field with the chakra color. It's really kind of effective for us because color therapy is a real thing.
It
So,
is definitely.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything else? Questions?
I think you covered a lot in this one.
A big one.
Like you said, your book has a lot of information
Yep.
around that too, but it's so refreshing to go back through and think about. I kept thinking about myself and different people, and it's like, oh yeah, victim, that's what's happening right now. Or for myself, like we said, we're stuck, going through that whole process. So it's brought forward some really good things for me. So
And I
hope
think
that's for everybody else.
one of my favorite words for this one is sovereignty and freedom. In fact, I even have it on my tattoo on my arm in terms of I am God, I'm sovereign, I am free. Is this, we have free will, and we have given it away for eons on this planet, and we have been an enslaved humanity. And it is time with this ascension process, with this disclosure, for us to actually step up and command not just of out here our free will, but more so in here. When I finally start to understand I do have will, I'm the one that's creating this, I'm creating my reaction to this, I get to, if I choose to, change things, and I don't have to have dominance over me, and I certainly don't have to dominate somebody else. It just totally changes everything. This is a hard chakra, but it is the tipping point that brings us to the next one, which is the heart, which is then the ethers, so it's big.
Great.
Really big. All right. Well, cool. I hope you get a golden nugget out of this somewhere along the line. Take what resonates, toss the rest as always. And please, if you choose to, which we hope you do, hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, and comment if you choose.
Yeah. Give us ideas. Great.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, everybody. Cosmic Cogs.
Goodbye.